started my grandkids listening to Andrea Bocelli and the Muppets. So he also likes to do that. So he's
But
expecting you
Andrea
to sing
Bocelli is great. So
Jingle
it's a
Bells.
great choice.
So are you saying we have to start singing? I'm not
Yes.
sure. I'm not sure
Necess-
that will go.
Not
I
necessarily.
don't think we're all on the same page with that.
YouTube
All
sings
right.
better.
So if you don't mind, we're gonna start the meeting. I don't really think it's a meeting, but we're just gonna have fun. At these social meetings, I would like to have just a topic and everybody answer the question and give us some background. There are 8 of us, so it's not going to, we don't have to keep our answers super short. Of course, I'd like to wrap up at least by 2, but or 2 hour time. So that gives us 3 minutes. That's not so short after all. But here's the question. So the question is so that we can learn more about each other. And at the end, if we can get through everybody's answer, we can ask questions of each other and get to know each other better. So this month's topic question is, what was your first job and what did you do with the money that you made at your first job? So that's the question. So you can think about it, and I can do you in order.
Me, I was a teacher, my first job, and I didn't do anything with that money. I mean, it was pretty much 110 euros, and let's say maybe $120 a month when I started. I was living in Albania back then. So I don't even remember what I did with that money, but it was not big. So I handed some to my family and I kept some, but it was not big money to do such big things, but it was okay. So
You
that
said
was
you were a teacher?
Yeah.
Like what kind of
languages. Foreign languages. I mean, I am graduated in Italian, but back then in my town where I was living in Albania, there was no Italian in high schools. So I have to teach English. So I taught English for a few months from November to March, and then I left and went to the capital, to Tirana, and then I worked with the trade unions for 3.5 years, and then I again left and came to Germany for 2.5 years, and then I again left and went back to Albania for a few years. Then I got pregnant, then I visited my family, then I went back to Albania, and then living there, and then coming here back and forth to Germany, and then living here from 8 years ongoing now.
And you didn't do anything special with your money. You just saved it.
I don't really save. I mean, it was peanuts. I mean, you can't do too much with that money, but I certainly bought something, but I don't even remember. I mean, not really very interesting, I guess. If you ask me what I do with my money now, then I can tell you. But back then, not so interesting.
Well, that's a great answer. David, you just joined us, but our question is, what was your first paying job and what did you do with your money? So that's the topic. So who wants to go next? Jim.
Oh, that's interesting. Jim,
go for it.
Yeah. My first paying job, I was in 8th grade, which would have made me like 13 or 14. And I sold vegetables door to door.
What?
Yes, we had, I grew up in Shelby, Ohio, and we had Celeryville, which was only about 10 miles away. So it was almost everyone my age. We had companies that would go and get the vegetables. They'd pick us up in the morning, we'd go in a car, and they'd have all these vegetables, and you'd have two like picket baskets, and I'd have to go door to door. Ma'am, would you want any fresh vegetables today? We have lettuce for 25 cents. We have onions, 3 bunches for a quarter or a dime a piece. We have celery, 25 cents a bunch. And I led all the salespeople. at that age and always got a bonus at the end of the year, at the end of the day. What did I spend the money on? What does any eighth grader spend money on? It's
Candy.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. So
How much money did you make?
I learned how to deal with people and having to make cold calls in the eighth grade.
How much money did you make? Do you still remember that?
Oh, it wasn't very much because you got 25% of what you sold. So if you sold $50 of vegetables in a day, you were the big top salesperson. So 25% of $50 is how much?
Okay, well, yeah, I do the calculation.
$10. That was it, you know, and you'd work all day long. I mean, we would start at 6 in the morning. I wouldn't get home till 6 o'clock at night, and we'd go to a different city every day.
Wow.
They'd pick us up and we'd go to all over the state, different cities.
The bottom button is low.
All right, so those guys that have joined since we asked the question, we're going around and telling each
That's
other
your
what our first paying job was and what we spent our money on. All right, so Renee, you're next.
I was trying to think how old I was, but I think I was even younger than Jim, starting to collect newspapers that were used and bottles. The recycling is pretty big in Germany, and it used to be that way 30 years ago also. So I went to other people's homes. I asked them for old empty glasses, newspaper, that kind of thing. I had something like a bike trailer where you put it and then you just bring it to that place where you get some money for it. And I guess I made pretty good money with that. I purchased my first soccer ball, a leather one, which was back then, I think, something like $100 a piece.
Oh my.
And yeah, it took a couple weekends to get that money, but that was my first thing I purchased for my own money. Yeah.
Do you still have that ball?
No, we used it. We used it on a daily basis, and I guess during all kinds of weather, and the leather is just, you know, just worn out over time.
Yeah.
So no, I don't have it anymore. Yep. So that was my first job. And
Very good. How far did you go? You went on your bicycle just in your neighborhood?
in the village, yeah. So I guess that's like 2-3 kilometers, and then, you know, all the way through all the streets, whatever. We had our, you know, we knew who's drinking a lot and who reads the paper, so we knew where to go to, and they kind of started to collect it for us. So whenever you would ring the bell, they would already say, "Ah, it's you. So here you go." That was kind of nice, yeah.
All right, Sue, how about you?
Oh, my first paying job.
She disappeared. Was a magician. She is showing up.
She didn't want to tell us about her first job. Secret. Jim, do you know about that?
He probably does know. All right, let's defer to Penny. Wait, there she comes. I had no idea she was a magician.
Oh, well.
Okay, am I back?
You're back, you're back.
Yeah.
Am I
where are you?
back?
But no
Well,
picture. Go ahead.
no picture?
I can
There
see you and
There you
hear
are.
you.
There you are.
Okay. Oh, glory. I with another girlfriend, we set up a play date camp in the neighborhood, and we went around and picked up. We had a lot of kids in our neighborhood, so we took a wagon and we would go and pick up the kids in the morning and bring them to our home, and we had games and crafts, and we were paid for it. And we ran this for, I think we ran it for 2 weeks in the summer. And that was the first money I had. What it went for, probably records. Old 45s back in the day.
What 45 record would you have bought first?
Who knows?
Oh, come on.
I
You
don't
have to remember
know.
something.
Whatever was top that week. That's where my money was spent early. After church choir practice, I'd go to the record store, and for $1, you get the latest 45, and that's where my money went on Saturday. I had a whole stack.
So what's the 45? I don't know.
45 RPM.
It was a 45. It was a 45 RPM record. They were about
Ah,
that big,
all right.
the hole in the middle,
Yeah.
and one song per record. And so you
One
get a
song
new
per
song
side.
each week. And then one song aside, you're right. So you got 2 songs per record. And then when you go to house parties, everybody would bring their records so you could play the music and dance.
Cool.
I can't imagine buying a record of something that was popular like that week.
Yeah.
That's very, I don't know. I'm from the country. We would have never had that. Like, couldn't have bought something that fast, I don't think. All right, Eloisa, how about you?
That
Did you raise your hand a while ago? Were you gonna say something, Penny? And we missed you? Okay,
You're very quiet.
he's very quiet. So my first job, maybe you can figure it out. Hello, men's furnishings, may I help you? I used to work at the Popular, a very nice department store in El Paso. And I must have been maybe 16, almost 17 years old. But this was only during vacation time. So, oops. Sorry. Oh, this was only during the holiday. So it was Christmas. So I remember I bought myself a nice pair of brown high heels that I took to work, of course. And then I also bought a gift for my boyfriend at that time. So yes, it was a nice job and I had fun, but it only lasted, for several holidays. That was it. Mhm.
I want to know what you bought the boyfriend.
Oh, I bought the boyfriend a jewelry box, a
Okay.
really nice leathered box. And it was a jewelry box. So that was my gift for him. Of course, that's what I found. That's what I found on sale there. And I had a discount. So it was a nice purchase. Yes, but it was funny. I'll just share you this little anecdote because he'd go occasionally to visit me or ask me out for lunch while we were there. And one of the times that he was there, this guy had come in from Mexico. I was here in El Paso, Texas, and this customer had come in from Mexico. And of course, I was showing him shirts or whatever. And then, my boyfriend came in. And before he could even say hello, this guy said, "Oh, let me introduce you to this nice, beautiful young lady. She is so courteous and such a good salesperson." And then right then and there, I jumped into the conversation and I said, "Well, before you continue this introduction, let me introduce to you my boyfriend. This is my boyfriend." So that was it. So he later became, my boyfriend later became my husband, and we would always tease about that. So that was a funny one.
That's
Bernice
funny.
has joined us.
Yes, I see her.
I see her name.
I see
Hi,
her
can you see me?
face. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
You're We are going around and we're asking a question of everyone, and you missed a couple, but you're here in time to see most or many. What was your first paying job, and what did you do with the money? So Elda, it's your turn. Oh, you already went. I'm sorry.
I was the first.
You can go again. You can, no, I'm just kidding. Penny, you're next on my paper.
Okay. Okay, well, my first job with a paycheck, other than babysitting gigs, was in the summer between my junior and senior year of high school. And I was a Dunkin' Donuts counter girl. And
My
it
dream
was,
job.
it was really something. We had these little pink waitress uniforms. And then we had to pin into our hair a headband that came up in a pink triangle of fabric above our heads, and had to be there every morning at 5:30 because the bakers actually made the donuts into shells, but the counter girls had to frost and fill everything. And we had to have the trays ready to go for when the store opened at 6:30. And then we had to work the counter and sell people their donuts, and for people who were wanting to sit down, we had a counter where they could have a cup of coffee. So I'd be right there with the cup of coffee, and worked really hard for less than minimum wage because it was considered a job where you got tipped. And if you got a nickel as a tip, you were really lucky. And the truth is, I have not been able to eat a donut since I finished that job, because every time I hold a donut in my hand, I have these flashbacks to being back in the baking area, holding the shell of donuts, filling them up with something, and then dipping them in the frosting, while Paul Revere and the Raiders Cherokee People is playing blasting music throughout. And it's just, it's like donut PTSD. I just can't do donuts.
I
But
can't fathom that. PTSD from donuts.
I was so proud of that money, and it went straight to my college fund. Every penny I went was intended to get me to college.
Wow. So it was worth it. The pink outfit was worth it.
It was.
And a lifetime of no donuts. Wow. That's sort of sad, but it's okay.
I know.
All right, Pacifique, tell us about your first job and what you did with your money.
Well, my first job was I got a job here before I came to the USA. I think I was done in high school, but I didn't get paid, so I left USA, and the money was still in the process. So, but my first job in the USA, it was in the summer when everybody went to summer holidays. It was my freshman year in college. During summertime, they need students to stay on campus to clean dorms and the rooms, and so the students come back and their rooms were clean. So that was my first job. I had a good time knowing everybody's room messy, clean, or I would tell the story when they come back on campus. I know your room. And so my money, yeah, of course I was able to drive that moment, and then I buy my gas. I save some money to to do some social with students when they come back on campus. I had a good time. You're a freshman, meeting friends, you want to go out, you want to do some fun activities. So it was very, very helpful for me to do social with students, making friends.
And maybe you had information that you could use to blackmail other students. You knew secrets about them from their room.
Yeah, sometimes they were like, "Oh, don't say it, don't say it." And they become my friends too, because they knew I have been in their room. So they was, "Oh, you have been in," they're very nice to me. Yeah.
What school was that? Was that at Kent?
No, it was Walsh University. That's where I did my undergraduate. It's in North Kenton,
Okay,
like 45 minutes or 40 minutes from Kent.
all right. Very cool.
You heard of
David.
Walsh, I think.
How
Yeah,
about you?
Walsh
I'm
College.
sorry.
Our son went to a golf camp at Walsh College.
Oh, oh, cool.
Yep.
That's cool. All right, David, it's your turn.
Oh, boy.
Job and what you did with your money.
My first job was in my brother's shoe store. I'm the youngest of some kiddos that were much older than I. So he had been in the service and came home and opened up a shoe store in my hometown in Pennsylvania. So about age 14, I went in and did some things in the shoe store, probably swept the floor. And actually, I did a little bit of everything at that particular time. So from 14 until I graduated from high school, that was my job. I went on to the next town to go to college, which was only 17 miles away. And that job allowed me to pay for most of my college credits back in the 50s and the early 60s, pretty much. What did I do with the money otherwise? Well, when I was in high school, I think I spent a lot of it on gasoline because I kind of had the wanderlust, and a couple buddies and I were able to carouse a bit and have a good time. So that's pretty much what I did. I think I got a quarter an hour, if that, but it was very helpful for me to start working at an early age and have that kind of mentality. It served me well through my life, and that's about it.
Did you make commissions in addition to your hourly wage?
What? No,
I say no.
I got what my brother wanted to pay me.
Exactly. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Where did you go to college and what's your hometown in Pennsylvania?
My hometown is Brookville, Pennsylvania, Jefferson County, kind of northwest Ohio. Brookville is the next town over from Punxsutawney Phil. Okay. And I went to Clarion, which was then Clarion State Teachers College.
Yes.
Now it's some other kind of permutation, but at that particular time, I was a commuting student. I never spent one night in a college dorm. It was always that. And I should mention too that during the college years, I got married. And by the time I graduated from college, I also had 3 kids. So we're going back in history quite a long time here.
Nice. All right, Matt, you're up next.
My first job, I was 11 years old, and I worked for a lumber company in town, and I built grape crates, and I had to supply my own hammer, and I had to saw my own wood. But I'd start at about 6:30 in the morning and end about 6:30 at night, and a half a day on Saturdays. And I built 200 crates per day, and I got 5 centavos a crate. So that meant I was making 10 pesos a day. The equivalent of that was 80 cents US. And I used the money to get myself another bicycle.
Did you say what kind of crates they were? I didn't hear what you said.
They're for storing grapes.
Great.
We had a big vineyard near Torreon, and they needed crates all the time to move grapes around. And so I would build these crates, and I made up a little jig, and I'd build the end frames first, and then I'd put the side slats on and the tops. And I would do 200 a day, and they paid me 5 centavos per crate. So.
Wow,
That's cool.
that is cool.
Oh, sorry. Were you
Donuts were
done?
better.
But
Matt, I grew up in the 5 centavos too, in the 5 cents Mexican. you know,
yeah,
And we would be able, we go to the little store, corner store,
the
and
tabarete.
we would buy a little 2 teeny weeny pieces of chocolate.
Yeah.
And there were 2 for 5 centavos.
Yeah,
So you're making me go back too,
yeah, we would.
but they were good.
We'd get palomitas, which were firecrackers, and we'd pay
Yeah.
2 for 5 centavos. But yeah, you could get a Coke back then at the tabarete for about 25 cents, 25 centavos.
Mhm.
And of course, I rode my bicycle everywhere, and then so I wore it out. I had to buy another one. But kept me out of trouble. And I learned how to use a hammer.
Hey, Chuck, it's your turn. You're inside. Are you? You're on mute. You have to unmute. We want to hear.
You are muted.
He can't understand how to unmute it. Is that right? So
Look at your microphone on the
Press
cell
that-
phone, and then you have to unmute it.
You can unmute him.
Does that do it?
There you go.
Did that do it?
There, there you
You
are.
did it.
There
I'm
you
on
are.
I'm on my wife's iPhone, so I don't know how this thing works. So you can hear me okay?
you did
Yes.
it perfectly.
Yep.
Good job.
Oh, well, my first job was I was a contractor for the local Fuller Brush man, and we passed out flyers in our neighborhood. I was probably 8 or 9. We got a penny a stop, and I'm not sure what I did with all that money, but probably bought in Ohio what we would call a pop.
So I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
Well, a Fuller
you
Brush
flyers for what?
for passing out a catalog for a company that was called Fuller Brush. And they were quite popular in, I would guess, maybe 50s, 60s. You could order brushes and things like that from the catalog.
Like hairbrushes?
Hair brushes, toilet brushes, shoe brushes. I don't really, I wasn't too much interested as to what was in the catalog. I was more for the money.
Of
So-
course.
And
I've never heard of it.
it's been downhill since then for me in my career, except for Riverside Penny. You know, that's different.
Good,
There
good.
you go.
That's a,
So you went door to door to door?
We just dropped off the catalog, just
Oh,
leaving us somebody's step for a penny. Penny was pretty good. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So like,
The
did
Fuller
you
Brush
actually
man.
And of course, I didn't pay tax on it. I was in arrears with the IRS and all that kind of thing.
like a whole $2 or something?
Oh, maybe a half a cent, maybe. I don't know. It's just
Very good. All right, Bernice, how about you?
Hi, sorry, I've just been trying to go from the one technology to the other. Sorry, I was late. You told me 8 o'clock on my time. And it's only on 7 o'clock now.
Sorry.
So I was still waiting for 8 o'clock my time to happen, sorry. But thank you,
No,
Jim.
I'm sorry if I told you the wrong time.
No. We sometimes with daylight saving times and your times sometimes get a bit mixed up. Yeah, my first job was the year before I was an exchange student. It was my grade 12 year. And I worked at a place called Woolworths, which is a clothing, food place. Australia has one similar, but ours is not the same franchise as that. It's a South African franchise. It just happens to have the same name. But it's like it's got a bit more fancy food, and they get first pick when it comes to, say, on a certain rose farm. And then, or they'll get first, they have separate slaughter houses from on a farm than what other places have. They're very strict on that. So you pay a little bit more. But anyways, that was my first job. And I had this beautiful little crimpoline uniform I had to wear. And I was a bit tricked, so it was very embarrassing. And I had to work at the tills. And I earned, at that stage, the rand dollar was R2.50 to $1. When I went overseas, the rand now almost 20 rand to $1. So it's 10 times what it used to be. But at that stage, I made 24 rand for 5 hours work and 28 rand for 6 hours work on a Saturday and a Sunday, and in Christmas and holiday type seasons. And my parents made me save that money so that I could be an exchange student. And I saved the whole, I think, 800 rand, which is like $80 or something. And I was very impressed. And I had to work every Saturday and every Sunday from 8 till 1 or from 9 to 2 or something like that. But I saved that, and yeah, that was part of my, I don't say part was even half my plane ticket or anything like that, but it was my first 2 months or 3 months helped me get by.
So what did you do actually?
All right, everything. Well, worked in, say, in a different department. So you would work, say, in the shoe department and help somebody find shoes, or work in the clothing, or and then slowly as I worked up, I became a teller at the food department and the payment departments. And you got to learn how to use the till, which was old till still then. It was not computerized. And then you learned how to pack a bag, because you had to, a very particular way of packing a grocery bag. And then I have one very embarrassing story there. I was, on the one day I was working on the floor in the lingerie department. But I didn't know what lingerie was. I was still in high school. So when my mom asked me, in what department am I working today? I said, in the lingerie department. And my mom thought that was hysterical, and she still tells everybody that. And I was like, what is a lingerie department? I'm like, she's like, the lingerie. And she had a lot of fun teasing me up till today about that. That was my first incident with a weird word.
Very fun.
I packed bags and did floor work and tills and took old stock off at the end of the shifts. We'd have to take the old stock off the shelves. But what was nice then, we got that stock at 1/10 of the price. So then my mom would give me extra money, and then I would buy all the nice puddings and breads and chocolates and everything that was now going to expire. But if Woolworths' quality was so, it could last another week or 2, maybe even. Sometimes it's just, they just have a lot of those. So we'd always have specialties because I worked at Woolworths.
Well, my first job was, my dad owned a restaurant and a bar. So he would, and we're from the country. So often like sports teams would order sub sandwiches, like hoagies and things like that for fundraisers. So we would have to make all of these sandwiches that dad would make at the cheapest possible rate, so that he could sell them at the cheapest possible rate so that they could make money on it. So I was the labor for putting those sandwiches together during high school. And he had a shuffleboard. Do you remember what a shuffleboard is? Like, you shove this thing down this long, it's a game, it's kind of game. And we would clear the shuffleboard off and make that into an assembly line to put sandwiches together. And so my job was stocking and assembling and doing that sort of thing. And I'm a saver, so I just saved all my money. And for a period, I actually collected $1 bills, and I'd iron them and put them all in order in envelopes. No, I'm serious. Like, I'm really serious. So I could save so many more in one envelope because they were so perfectly flat, but I did that for a long time. I
So
don't do
you're
that
laundering
anymore.
money.
That's right. Well, I think we went through everyone. So if anybody has questions, like, the whole point of this is to generate interest. So let's stick to the topic and ask questions or input on the things we learned today would be awesome.
So do you still launder money?
No, I do not. I told you, I don't have time for that anymore. I do iron things, but not $1 bills.
I just want to say, I was listening to Bernice talk about working the till, and in my Dunkin' Donut existence, we called it closing the cash register. If you were on shift when the store was closing, you had to close out and balance the cash register. And I don't know if you experienced this, but we were required to make sure that all of the bills were facing the same direction and not upside down. You know, they all had to be in proper alignment and proper denominations. And I still do that with my wallet, and it drives Steve crazy. It just drives him nuts when he sees me flipping the money around to get it properly aligned.
Got a face left.
Yep, I think anybody that's worked a till does that.
Yeah.
Because that's how
I still do it.
that's how you get money ready to turn into the bank and everything else. So that's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I must say, Benny, for us, it was easier where all your money looks the same.
Right.
Our money is different sizes and different colors.
Oh,
So that made it a lot easier, and it still is different sizes. Okay, they've changed it now. Suddenly they changed our currency, the way it looks overnight. I didn't even know they were going to do it. I just saw it looked like we're suddenly getting monopoly money. And I was like, oh, okay. But I take it with how our money has downgraded. Sorry, my signal is quite bad.
It's okay.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Yep.
we're good.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
But still now, even in my wallet, I do it in color coordinated, turn them all the certain pictures to the front. And I also put it in a very specific place in my wallet. If I put it in the other place, then I'll be like, was I going mad? Why did I put it here? Did I try and save it? What was I doing with it? And the biggest stress point when cashing up was, are you going to cash up? Are you going to miss a coin, or are you going to miss because a 10 Rand was half my pay for a day, you know, so that could be a lot of money if you don't cash up. So I found that very stressful. I'd rather work with the criminals I work now than never be a cash register person. I have a lot of respect for them.
well, Chris, I don't know if you know, or the rest of the group knows, that Chuck and I used to work for Sue's cousin.
No. Are you aware?
Sue's cousin has a cousin named Erie Chapman, and
yeah.
in the 80s and 90s, he was the president of first Riverside Hospital in Columbus, and then it became a whole healthcare system. And Chuck and I were both working there at that same time when Erie was our fearless leader.
And he was a member of the Columbus Rotary Club. For a period.
Oh, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
He was a member of Toledo, so he could have
His
possibly
dad,
been
yeah,
involved.
his dad were, but I don't think Chip Erie ever was in Rotary, but maybe he was, and I just didn't know.
If he was, he didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Did you say Chip?
That's his nickname.
Yeah,
So
that's
Chip?
Chip Chapman. That's, yep.
Well, I think it's because wasn't his father also Erie?
His
And
father was also
So he
Erie.
was a chip off
Erie,
the old block?
Erie, yeah, you know, family names, Erie DeGrasse Chapman the first, Erie DeGrasse Chapman the second. So Erie DeGrasse Chapman the second was Chip. And since he was my cousin, that's what everybody called it.
We mostly called him Mr. Chapman.
I'm sure. No, I did not know that. I did not know that.
And somehow we lost Chuck, so he
I
wouldn't
know,
even
he
hear
ran
that.
away when you told that little secret.
Yeah.
Pacific.
Well, I'm super excited to have Elda and Renee and Pacifique and Bernice from over there. So it's really, really exciting. You guys have to talk more because we don't ever get to hear you when we're having our Monday night over here meeting because it's the middle of your night. So speak more. We want to hear you speaking.
So what do you want to know?
I don't know. What does someone want to know? I've asked her a bunch of questions.
Thank you guys for making it at a time where I can actually be present. I think when you guys meet at 8, that is something in the middle of the night. So pretty happy you guys make it possible. I guess when I was in Salina back then, we used to meet at lunchtime, right? At 12. So that was a regular meeting time. And I heard from some of the statements that this would be a good time maybe to meet at 12. If, you know, we want to be involved, that would be an hour earlier, which would be possible, I guess. So if for the next time, if you guys make an appointment at 12, that's fine for me as well. And maybe that way we can be even more. Yeah, other than that, it's good to see you guys live. Usually I don't see you in person, or at least here online, but I read a lot, of course. Yeah, I have to say it's too bad I can't really get more active. But I guess that's what it is. But it's still good to be a part and to give my little thing that I can give to the group and to whatever project there is. Yeah. As I said, I'm pretty busy with the family, with all kinds of things going on. So it's probably the time of my life where things are just very busy.
Do you want to explain the picture behind you?
Oh yeah, sure. I just found it before the meeting because I thought my background doesn't look very nice if it's just my office here. That was, I'm pretty sure it was in March 1995.
Yep.
It must be spring in Washington, D.C. And I remember it was like a week before Michael Jordan came back because I purchased a t-shirt from Michael Jordan, Jordan's back with the 45 back then. And when I came to the US, I was a big Chicago Bulls fan, Michael Jordan, of course, and he retired. And I was pretty upset that in the year I was there, he didn't play anymore. Well, he did play baseball, but you all know what that looked like. So I was telling the families usually ask, hey, what do you want to do? We can, you know, spend a weekend together. And I always said, well, it'd be great to see the Bulls play, even though Michael Jordan is not playing anymore. And I think at the end of '94, just before Christmas, a family told me that they would take me to a Indiana Pacers game where the Bulls would be there. And yeah, lucky me, it was the game when Michael Jordan came back. So I got to see him at his comeback game, which was the greatest thing on earth, obviously. And yeah, that's why I still remember this was just a week before I got to see Michael Jordan. So yeah, that's the story.
So you
So
were an
now have you
exchange
bought
student
tickets?
through Rotary at that time. So he was an exchange student, long-term Rotary exchange.
Yeah, I
student.
think next year is our 30th anniversary
Ouch.
being an exchange student. Yeah.
Did
But that
we
was 94, 95 when I was there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
did we
30th.
chaperone their trip?
Yes, dear, that we were
Good.
on that trip to Washington DC, 94, 95. Yep, we were there.
Did anything significant happen that year? Was that the year we lost the exchange
No.
student?
If anything significant happened, they didn't tell us.
I think you told us we were the nicest year ever.
I think they say that every year.
Yeah.
You have to say that every year if you're a YU.
Yeah, very polite, I have to say.
Oh, well, and that was a year when there were a lot of students there. I think there were in the 20s, 20, 24, 25 of you were in. Yeah. So we had almost a full bus with the inbounds, and then some of the outbounds went on that trip too. So that was when Youth Exchange was at its peak in Ohio, District 6600. Yeah.
Yeah, good time. Definitely.
Well,
Do you remember
back
who it was? Do you remember who you guys had over in that
In
year?
94, 95, we had, actually, I don't know if we had a student that year because we had Ana Luisa in 93 and we had Ana Amelia in 95. And I think 94, 95,
I remember Anna.
we didn't have a student living with, was Ana?
Yeah,
Anna,
she was there when I was, but it may be in 95 then, because from Brazil, I think they
right.
come in
Okay.
January or something. Yeah.
Okay, so it was Ana Amelia. So she would have been on that bus trip with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember her. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we still have a private group in Facebook, the 94, 95 exchange students. I think you're part of that, right, Sue?
Yeah, I think I'm on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
is
I think there are first
Still
thoughts to meet up again. So maybe next year there's a little reunion, at least discussion. So I think we met after 10 years the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed the next one, but I think someone is already looking at the 30-year anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. I think your group was one of the first ones to be connected on internet. And so you stuck together and would try and communicate. Yeah. With email or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of nice how everybody develops and does now, and it's always fun to see, to follow them, and yeah.
Yeah.
for you four
Because
guys.
when Bernice came in 1990, there was no internet and there was no way to really stay in touch with all of your classmates.
We
I'm
thought the fax machine was a gigantic thing about when Bernice came.
and
That solves
microwaves too.
Well, Oscar was there at the same
You
time.
still ask me about a microwave. No, we had microwaves.
All right.
No,
but you
the
remember,
fax machine, we got Oscar's application over fax.
Yeah, probably mine as well.
And no, yours, that's a story. I don't even know if you know that story, but someday I'll tell you. Yeah.
How you got
because,
mine?
What? Yours
How
came,
you got-
yours came fine. Yours came fine. We just didn't know you were coming in January. Somebody told us you were coming in August.
I remember that.
And so we were all ready for you to come in August. And then we got Oscar in August.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. But
Not even-
Oscar's came by fax. Only
Yeah.
his picture didn't come. So it was a black box and his application. We didn't know what he looked like.
well, and the other part was they put on his application what an athlete he was. You know, he did this, he did that. But then they said he was obese. And we thought, well, that was an interpretation that they meant he was big and muscular. So that we had no idea what he looked like. So in those days, you could go right to the airport when everybody came off the plane. So here comes off all these Swedes you know, with their blonde hair and they're all trim and everything. And then comes Oscar. Boom, boom, boom. 240 pounds. He wore a size 54 jacket in high school. So then we knew they didn't interpret it wrong.
Yeah, he was a wrestler or something, wasn't
Yeah.
he?
Oh
He
yeah,
was
he
a
was a
wrestler,
wrestler.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. He was great. We had fun with Oscar. And
I'm
his
still
parents
in
wanted
touch with him.
to,
He's
his parents
got
wanted us
two-
to.
No, he's
Yeah.
got two boys, and
Yeah.
his oldest boy, I think, just turned 18. So that's, you know, that's amazing.
And he's totally trim and fit now. You wouldn't recognize him. So
Oh yeah, you would. He looks just the same.
yeah.
All right, let's get back to a topic that everybody else understands because we're off the road. So anything else
Yep.
from Pacific and Elda that you want to like pop in before we get off?
Yeah, you know, Chris,
No, but
I just moved. I spent 12 years in Ohio, and I just moved back home, which I'm now running Kent State Center, which is a project that I initiated to take Kent State in Rwanda. So now we just opened the center. They asked me to run the center, so I'm happy to be home now, working for Kent State in Rwanda, my home country, which is kind of giving back to Rwanda, but also to Kent State University. So I'm kind of getting settled now in Rwanda, and I know they have Rotary Club. I want to explore ways to connect with them and to tell them about our Rotary Club, maybe to develop some initiatives, maybe students exchange or some other programs. So I'm excited and can't wait to connect with them. I know they are here. I just need to. Now I think things are slowing down. I have an office now, and I am looking forward to connect with them and see how I can share the work we are doing and how maybe we can work together with them.
That would be really cool. We
Yeah.
want to hear your updates for sure.
I want to be the ambassador for our club.
Yeah, that's perfect. That would be awesome.
I was going to ask if this exchange program is back into place after COVID. I know we kind of stopped, but is this coming back the way it was, or different, or not at all?
There's no program in District 6600 this year, and unlikely that it'll be next year.
Oh, that's sad.
But
if
but it
districts are doing
is back worldwide. They're starting to pick it up again, but right now, not in 6600.
Okay, is this
But
because
maybe down where Chris is, maybe that area is doing exchanges again.
is this
We
because
are.
families are not there that would host a student, or is that what it is?
Well, and a lot of parents aren't letting their kids go. It's just simple. So I think there's this level of concern. I mean, there always has been a level of concern about sending kids over, but now it's very heightened. And it's just a much smaller program all around.
All right.
If you aren't aware of the service project that our club was doing in the month of July, I know this is the last day of July, but technically we have until our next meeting. Sue's holding some up. Our challenge is for every member of our club to go out and grab 10 rocks. And they can be river rocks or gravel, I don't care. Little kids love little rocks, so it doesn't even matter if they're big rocks, they don't have to be big. And we're trying to do something encouraging. Jim just posted some really cool ones that after seeing his, I'm like, oh, mine weren't even that close to being encouraging, so I might do some more. But the whole point is to be an encouragement to people around you. They don't have to be for children. I think that there are a lot of young people, meaning even young adults, who are very depressed right now, very worried about their futures. And I tried to keep our rocks kind of adult targeted in a way that wanted them to know that nothing's hopeless, you know? So we put ours in the city park, but we put some in the playground, but other ones I put in the places where people just sit and reflect around the big lakes and benches and things like that. Just, I think something that simple could really make a huge impact if the right person happens to see it. So if you haven't had a chance to do them, really, really think about doing it. It doesn't take any money unless you have no permanent marker. But if you go and get 10 rocks out of the yard or off the side of the road or wherever, I don't care. And then you could just put smile or something on it and put them around. What did you say, Matt?
I said, get stoned.
Get stoned. There you go. You heard it here. I didn't say it, but you heard it here. Anyway, I encourage you to do it because I would like to see, even though we're all separated and we're spread out all over the globe, I think as a consolidated effort, we could make a difference. So that was the point. And back to something Renee said just quickly, if we move our meeting to 12 o'clock, Australia and Asia can't come because it's in the middle of their night. So the whole purpose of this meeting is to try to pull in, by trying different times of the day, everyone at some point. So the Central Ohio and US folk are going to have to sacrifice their day at one point. Also, we'll try to meet in the middle of the night so that at least our Europeans and Africans can meet our Asians and Australians, because you guys are almost never on the call at the same time because we prioritize ourselves. So we're going to try to fix that this year a couple times anyway. And I was also thinking that this is a very good time because it gets most people. Now we're missing a lot of people that cannot get out of their work day that are here in the US. So maybe the next time we will try this on a Saturday. I know Saturday evenings are hard because it's family time and Saturday days.
Friday evening.
I'm sorry.
Friday evening too.
That would work, but the issue here is that it's still our work day. So I was thinking we could try a Saturday. It's inconvenient for literally everyone because it's the weekend, but it may draw different people. So just be patient. I'm trying different things and we're going to see if we can get people plugged in differently. I loved today's meeting because I got to talk to some of you I haven't seen your mouth move and sound come out at the same time. I don't think ever. So that's pretty cool. Anyone want to offer anything before we wrap up?
I'm in Tucson.
Oh, are you?
Yes, we're waiting for another grandson on Wednesday. He's supposed to show up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
No.
That's
Speaking of birthdays, everyone needs to wish Chris a happy birthday for tomorrow. So happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday in advance, Chris.
Thank you
But
so
we're
much.
gonna also wish you tomorrow, so by email. At least.
There you go. You could do that. You could send those little chocolates Eloisa likes.
More than 2.5 now.
Yeah, I can't imagine what they cost. All right. Well, anyway, thank you so much for your time. I think it was fun. I hope you all had fun. If you haven't done your service project, do it. And we'll see you in a couple weeks, if possible, for our club meeting. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Sure.
Thanks for spending the time.
Bye.
Good to see
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.